So, the first episode of Bakugan Battle Planet leaked on YouTube, and I watched it. So here's what I have to say. Hey guys, it's Dylan, and I'm back with a different kind of video today. It's weird because you guys can actually see my face. First time for everything, you know. Anyway, so I want to talk about the leaked first episode of Bakugan Battle Planet that was leaked onto YouTube a few days ago, and I watched it the day it was put up. And yeah, so I wanted to review it for you guys. This is a spoiler review, so there's your spoiler warning right there. If you don't want any spoilers, click out of the video right now, please, if you would like to wait till Sunday to be surprised. With that said, let's start the review. So, I'm going to give you guys a quick summary of the first episode, which is technically 2 episodes. They did it in 2 parts, and the series is going to be 15-minute episodes, 2 15-minute episodes per showing. So, basically, we get introduced to our characters. So the first episode, the episode's called The Origin of the Species, part 1 and 2. And the first episode starts off with Dan and this one guy who we later find out is named Magnus. And he apparently seems like one of the main bad guys. So Dan and Magnus are about to face off in the middle of the street, which, first of all, why aren't there any cars in the street? Beats me. So Dan and Magnus are about to face off. They throw their Bakugan, and the Bakugan pop open. And then Dan basically says, like, let me explain how all this happened. So it goes back to a thing that happened before any of the Brawlers were born, because I believe they're 12 years old in this series. So it goes back 12 years prior to an event called the Great Collision. And basically what the Great Collision is, I'm assuming, there's this moment where you see a hollow ball kind of just attach itself to Earth. And I'm assuming that's Vestroia. And it caused a giant crater in a part of this town, this city. And so, basically, Dan, Winton, Leah, and Lightning all go to film a video at the crater site of the Great Collision. So while they're there, it is the anniversary of the Great Collision, which also happens to be Dan's birthday. Coincidence? Probably not. And then all of a sudden all their electronics stop working for a brief moment, and they get really confused. And so electronics come back on, and Dan, for some reason, Dan finds Drago, his first Bakugan. He finds Drago in some sort of goo type substance, and so he picks up Drago, and then the hex grid kind of just sprawls across the crater, and Dan thinks, well, why don't I just throw this little ball onto one of these hexagons? Like, who would think that? But this show's for kids. Anyway, so Dan just kind of underhand throws Drago onto one of the hexagons, and he pops open, you know, a giant dragon, and then it's just standing there, and Drago's just kind of like grunting, just like, ugh. Drago's growling. Dan's just like, oh, he's trying to communicate. I would have been like, I'm out of here. This thing's gonna eat me. Anyway, so Dan goes up to it, and he's like, basically like, what are you? And Drago is like, I'm a Bakugan, my name is Dragonoid. I'm your partner. Winton ends up getting his own Bakugan. They end up finding more Bakugan in this crater. So Winton gets his, Leah gets hers, and Lightning gets his. And by the way, Lightning's the dog, if you guys didn't know that. Lightning is a dog. He's a Bakugan brawling dog. So that's basically where the episode ends. The next part is Origin of the Species Part 2, and that starts off with them basically experimenting with their Bakugan. So they're trying to figure out how the Bakugan cores, how the Baku cores work, So Dan, you know, he picks up one of the cores, throws it at Drago, uses the move, which somehow he knew the name of. Is the name written on the Baku core? That would be convenient. And so Winton's like, let me try, picks up a Baku core, throws it, but the difference is this one was purple. The one Dan threw was red. So this one's purple. And when Winton throws it, it makes his Bakugan return to ball form. So we can only assume that was a power-draining Baku core. And then it goes back to the previous fight from the previous episode with Dan and Magnus. And so Dan and Magnus duke it out. You know, the Bakugan's brawl's happening. Drago gets knocked down. Then Winton, Leah, and Lightning come to help. They send out their Bakugan. Really touching moment with Dan and Drago. Dan couldn't throw one of the Baku cores to reach Drago, so he went, grabbed it, and gave it to him by hand, which was really... You could kind of see a bond between them when he was just like, here you go, Drago. That's yours, man. And so Drago ends up... He knocks down Nilius, which is Magnus's Bakugan. And they think they've won. You know, it appears they've won. And so then a bunch of other bad guys show up, and they're like, you know, I want you guys to join us. You know, we can battle all these people, like join our team, because we're bad guys. And of course, the awesome ones are like, heck no, dude, no thanks. And Dan's like, I already beat you guys, or I already beat one of your guys. And then Magnus is like, oh, you think you've won? Is that right? And then Nilius stands back up. And then they basically all just leave, and then the awesome ones are just like, yeah, you better run. And that was basically the first 2 episodes. So, let that digest for a minute, and we'll get to my review right now. Alright, so I fit a whole review on 1 page of notes, so see how much I could get through. First off, Part 1. Origin of the Species, Part 1. The intro, the new Bakugan intro is meh. It's, I mean, it's not as energetic as the old one. I would have liked for a much more, I don't know, I wouldn't say meaningful because it's a cartoon. Like, you don't need a meaningful intro, but I don't know, something a little more upbeat, something a little more catchy. I liked that they introduced Magnus as the bad guy in the very, very, very beginning, because they throw a lot at you in the first 2 episodes, and so they give you a lot of characters that right off the bat. So, I mean, it's a lot to digest, but I think it's also a good thing, because he has a face you'll probably remember for the rest of the series. Also, he kind of looks like Marduk from the Bakugan Battle Brawlers video game. Just a little bit. Anyway, the voice actor for Dan, holy crap. So good. They picked a perfect person to portray Dan's voice. Amazing. Also, Drago's voice. Jason Deline? Jason Deline. I'm gonna say Jason Deline. Jason Deline. Alright. He voiced Drago in the original, the OG Bakugan, and he is back to voice Drago again. And that earned me some major brownie points and hit me right in the nostalgia, man. It hit me right in the nostalgia. The Great Collision, I wish they would have elaborated just a little bit more. There's a little bit of a backstory. They might go into it more later on down the road, but right now I just wish there's a little bit more explanation. Like I said, a lot of what I said was just assuming. I don't know if it's Vestroya. It could be. I'm assuming it is because of what it says on the Bakugan website about how they're learning about Vestroya, but not 100% confirmed yet. I really like Winton. He is hilarious. Leah, she's a little iffy for me. You know, she's the one that's like pushing the whole vlogging. She's like the behind the camera director, filmmaker kind of person. And she is, I don't know, in the first couple episodes, they were pushing it a lot. and I didn't really like that. I liked Lightning a lot more than I thought I would. Lightning the dog. I liked him so much more than I thought I would. Surprisingly, I'm not really down for like animals playing card games, but Lightning was good. Lightning was, he was funny too, which I liked. Back to the what I was saying about them being basically like vlogger types. I'm not a big fan of that. A lot of the first 2 episodes was like, hey, let's post this, or man, we're gonna get so many views on this. It's like, you just found monsters. And I mean, I guess the first thing a kid would think of is, let's record this so we can get lots of views on YouTube. These kids nowadays. So, I mean, I guess I could see where they're coming from. I mean, the demographic is, the show is for children. So, you have to kind of go with what's relevant, and posting videos and vlogging is relevant in today's society with kids. So, I guess that makes sense. But I'm not a big fan of it. Another thing, when Dan finds Drago, when he pops open, he automatically says, I'm Dragonoid, I'm your partner. There was no, like, bonding between them, no, like, test of trust for them to, like, be, okay, like, we need to go through this, and maybe I'll consider you to be my partner. Kind of like the OG series, and I don't want to compare it too much, because it's a whole new series, but, like, Dan really didn't trust anybody until he met Dan, and Dan really had to show him what, like, they had to trust each other, and because they both didn't trust anybody, and they only had each other. Well, Dan and his friends, but you know what I mean. Like, they had to build some sort of trust, and that hasn't happened in the new series yet. It was just like right off the bat, Drago's like, I'm your partner. Why? What is your reason for that? Why are you his partner? Was it chosen by some god? Is it like, I don't know. I just wish they would have elaborated more on that as well. And a lot of this stuff is really hard because they're only 15-minute long episodes, so you can't really get too much out of them. 15 minutes with commercials. They're like 11 minutes without. So, I don't know. I just wish there was more of a, like, bonding between Drago and Dan. There's no trust building. So, I hope they bring that along in the next few episodes, but if not, then I will be kind of disappointed. So, that's my review for part 1. I would, on a scale from 1 to 10, or from, I'll say, a scale from 0 to 10, I will give part 1, episode 1, part 1, I'd give it a 7 out of 10. You know, it wasn't great, but it was still good. There were some parts that I wish were different, but it's a new direction, and, you know, a new direction Spin Master is wanting to go, and I understand that, and so I'm gonna support it, and, you know, I'm okay with it for now. But I do wish some things were different. Anyway, part 2, Origin of the Species, part 2. I like that they were shown practicing with the Bakugan, practicing with the Baku cores. They're basically just learning the game, and probably making the rules as well. I don't know if they make the game, or if they just learn how to play it. Anyway. But of course, once again, they're making a video, because that's the #1 priority, not learning how to use these monsters they just got. The #1 priority was, let's get this on video and post it. So, so anyway, they post their videos of Bakugan online, and other kids respond and are like, hey, I found some of those too. And that's basically how it was in the OG series, and I like that a lot. The online community of Bakugan from the original series was what I liked a lot about it. And so I hope they bring that somewhat back, like without all the vlogging aspects, but I doubt that'll happen. Adults can't activate Bakugan. That was brought up in the first episode. Why is that? Do they not? I have so many questions. Like, why? And the main leader of the rival Bakugan group is like 23. So why can't adults activate them again? Elaborate, please. The brawl at the end between Drago and Nilius was awesome. Some of the best Bakugan brawling I've seen. So they actually look like they're fighting, which is fantastic. And the brawlers actually do stuff. You know, they don't just stand there, throw their cards, and are like, all right, do that. sit back and watch. They actually have to run around the field, they have to find cores to throw. And they have to find the good cores and the bad cores. So, I like that a lot. They're more engaged with their Bakugan. Again, probably what builds their bond also. So I like that the brawlers are much more engaged in the battle. The rest of the bad guys show up near the end of the battle, like I said. And there's a few nods to the original series with the bad guys that show up. The main bad guy, the 23-year-old I was talking about, I don't remember his name. I believe he's voiced by the guy that either voiced Masquerade or Spectra. I don't remember which one it was. But the fact that they're getting voice actors to return, such as Jason Deline, however you pronounce it, and him is just so amazing. Like, they really, really care for the original fans, such as myself, as much as they care for the new fans. So that's something I really, really like that Spin Master is doing. The end, you get to see a preview of Shun, who is now an Aqua's brawler with blonde hair, who kind of looks like Marucho, which was pretty neat, so I'm sure he'll be a big part of episode 2, hopefully. And that is the end of episode 2, or episode 1, part 2, sorry. And so my final thoughts on part 2, way better than part 1. You actually get to see the Bakugan Brawl, so that's cool. I'd give part 2 probably an 8.5 out of 10. And final thoughts, like I said, there are some things that I wish were a little bit different, but I can't change them. I can only appreciate what Spin Master is trying to do in bringing this series back from the dead, basically. And hopefully I can get my hands on some Bakugan toys themselves, some cards. I have a Bakugan that I ordered off of eBay coming in the mail. Don't know why I did that. I could have just waited 2 weeks to get them in stores, but I couldn't wait, and so I paid a little bit extra money to get one beforehand. And so that'll be a video for probably next week. Yeah, so that's my review for the first episode of Bakugan Battle Planet. I'll probably end up doing some more reviews, at least the first like 3 episodes I'll try and do. And yeah, it's great to have Bakugan back, you know? It's been gone for so long, I missed it. Thank you guys for watching. If you like videos like this one, hit the subscribe button down below, and I'll see you guys next time.